Welcome back to the course. In this part, we are starting to create the pass system I was talking about in the last concept video about the Galaga game. So what we need to do is, of course, we need to do a lot of coding and we need to rearrange a lot of things. And of course, we need to understand what's going to happen on these path finding systems. In this particular case, our path is going to contain several, let's say waypoints we are going to create. So we start with a rather simple system and we're gonna increase it over the time. So probably this video can be a bit longer, or I'm gonna split this into several parts. So let's get into it and try to understand how the complete system of the passes or pass system at all is going to become working. So what we want to do is we want to create our first C# script, and this is going to contain our pass. So just name it pass and don't forget to hit enter. By the way, small tip, when you are coding things, make sure the console and the game and the scene view are visible the whole time at the same time. Meaning when the console gives you an error and you only see this like here in the bottom line where this gray is like under it, you easily can miss it. So make sure that the console is next to your game view. So whenever you're pressing on the play button, or even if you are just doing editor scripting, then make sure the console is always fully visible. If it is not visible, go to Window, General, and then make sure that the console is visible. So this is important. Also, you might want to check error pause, as well as later on we are going to talk about gizmos, but this is only part of the game view over here. So, but once again, for the moment, not important. Later on, we're gonna make use of it at all. Okay, so let's get into pass, scripting. So what we want to do is we want to open this one up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, whatever you please and like. I prefer MonoDevelop since, well, I like it. Gonna zoom in a bit and open this one a bit more up. So what we want to do is we want to make use of a specific function which is sitting in mono behavior directly, and this is of type void since we don't return anything. But what we want to use is a onDrawGizmos function. Make sure that you type this one 100% correct, otherwise it might not work. This one is running in editor space, in editor time. We don't need to press any play button or anything else, but we need this to visualize our pass. So at first what we want to create is a straight pass. I'm gonna comment things out since sometimes students seem to struggle with commenting things out and forget later on what the heck is going on and why doesn't it work as it's supposed to be. So this pass is basically later on sitting on a holder object, and everything on its child are going to land into a list or an array of of the pass itself, and so we can select it and rearrange it, just the game object itself, and we draw the pass between those points or this particular game objects. So for a straight pass, once again, I'm gonna give it a color over here, so just any color we later on want to. So I name this one, I make it public, otherwise I cannot change it in the inspector, so make it public color, and I call this maybe just pass color. And we can actually set this one to already be maybe color.green or something, or gray, or whatever you prefer, but make sure that you see this. So green is actually rather good to see, so make use of it. So what we want to do is, when we are once again creating our pass in the onDrawGizmos function, we only want to draw this first, and meanwhile we move things around. We want to follow or have everything following up correctly. So what we want to do is we want to set the color at first inside this. So we can say gizmos dot, and now we want to set the color of the gizmo to be the pass color we have created. So we say gizmo dot color is equal to pass color. So whatever we have set in the inspector is going to become onto the gizmo. Now what we want to do is we want to put all the child objects of the current one where this pass is going to be on, all the child objects, we want to put them into an array. So what we're gonna do is we create a transform array. So a transform, and with square brackets behind this, say it is an array of type transform, and we're gonna name it maybe obj array, so for object array. So every child of this array we want to put into this array over here, like every child of the game object where this pass script is sitting on. How do we do that? Well, it's rather simple. We just fill the obj array we just created, and we say we want to say equal to get components in children with this one. And we want to say we want to get the transform component, open close parentheses, and close the line with a semicolon. So we say here we want to fill the array. So once again, the array in this particular case is going to be the one which is holding all our data based on the children into that. The next one is we want to make sure that we have a list where we now place everything inside. So this can be a public or actually also a non-public one. Can be a non-public one, but we want to see if everything works. So I make this one public. So public list, and open close those triangle brackets, and this is going to be also a type of transform list. I'm gonna choose lists because they are dynamic and changing dynamically the size of itself, so we can actually put in things and take away things, and the length of the list is automatically going to increase or decrease based on that. So we can do this in runtime as well as in inspector time, I would say. So, and we give it a name. So this is going to be our pass obj list. So pass obj list. This is the list we're gonna take later on to read from. So it's a new list. So we initialized that already. It's a new list of type transform, open close parentheses, and of course, once again, close the line with a semicolon. So meanwhile, we have now everything inside the array. We want to make sure that we also put all of that information inside the list. So all the children objects in the object array, we want to pass them into the list, but not the parent object. First, before we can do this, we're gonna say we need to clear the list because it is always updating itself meanwhile in runtime or in inspector time. So it's running the whole time. So what we need to do is before we go into the next step, we need to say pass obj list dot clear. So we make sure that this is an empty list when it is done so far. The next one is we want to put all children into the list. And so what we're going to do is we take a for loop or a for each. It basically doesn't really matter since both are doing the same. The for each is a bit simpler since we can say for each type of transform, then we give it a name. It's going to be our obj we are looping through. Then we say in, and then we take the object array, so obj array. So every time we now loop through all the transforms inside the obj array, and we say if our obj meanwhile we are looping through is not equal to this dot transform. So this is not going to be the transform where the pass is going to sit on. Then we want to say we want to add this particular object we are currently looping through to the obj or the pass obj list. So we say pass obj list dot add, and now we add the current one we are looping through, which is going to be obj. Once again, the obj from here is going to be represented, or basically this one we are currently looping through in this for each loop. Okay, and that's pretty much everything we need to do to fill the list automatically by the points, and we can fill the list automatically. If you don't know what's going on, we can easily go now to our Unity and let the compiler run. We can create a new empty game object, and maybe we call this one pass holder. We cannot see much by that, but we can, on this pass holder, we can put in pass. And as you can see, there's going to be a pass obj list now. And when we, for example, create a new empty over here into this pass holder, it's automatically getting added within the pass obj list by this object. Even if I now rename this like pass point as a name, like so, it is also getting written and updated in here. So this is basically the foundation of all these points. So we can also take another one, we can duplicate this one, and so now we're gonna have two of these in our pass obj list. So this is working already pretty much fine. In the next one, we're gonna visualize the pass, so the straight pass, and so on and so forth. So stay tuned.